bend that bottom leg for me.
Let me, I'll text Bill too.
Does the camera move that way or no? Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
Good?
So, yep. So you want in good alignment. So you want to test the leg on top, okay? You're going to measure for active dorsiflexion, okay? If you want to, you know, if the patient's comfortable, you can let them rest on you, or you could sit like that as long as the patient's comfortable with it. You know, there's no cultural or religious barriers that prevent you from doing that, or you can just support the leg, okay? You want to be in gravity minimized position, so if you're starting with a grade of trace, right, and you're asking them to actively dorsiflex their foot, they're unable to, where are you going to palpate?
Tibialis anterior.
Right. So you know from before, tibialis anterior is here. So you're supporting the foot. Is that as far as you can move? They can't move any further. You want to palpate for that anterior tibialis tendon. If you're having trouble supporting the leg, then just go with that rested position there and palpate as they attempt to do it. Okay? For a grade of 2, be a little straighter so he's not rolling into different planes. Okay? You want him to go to full dorsiflexion, right? Is that as far as you can go? Right? You act for active range first. You test passively with some overpressure, so you achieve your passive range of motion or overpressure first, and then you're going to go to the grade. So for 2, he goes to bring your foot toward your shin for me. Is that as far as you can go? Okay? So now I did a screen and I retested it again testing end feel. Okay? So for your 2+ grade, you're going to give him fingertip resistance. He goes to the motion again, as far as you can go. Is that as far as you can go? You give overpressure. Okay? For against gravity, he's going to sit. So now you don't have to support at all because it's an against gravity grade. You ask him to go to his shin. You move your foot up like this, right?
Oh! I'll move. Can I?
So you ask the dorsiflexion, have him bring his foot toward his shin. Is that as far as you can go? He says yes. You give him some passive overpressure. You achieve full range of motion. 3+, go all the way up as far as you can, as far as you can go. Give full pressure, right? Okay. And when you're doing your passive overpressure, again, push from the midfoot. Don't push from the forefoot or the toes because it's going to look like they missed range of motion. And don't push them into pronation or supination. It's straight dorsiflexion from the talocrural joint. Okay. Your grades 4 and 5, same thing. You want to give that pressure a go all the way, okay? You push, you test to the other side, and you test, you know, you're determining at that point which one's the 4, which one's the 5, okay? For plantar flexion, you can go back on your side. Your side line, same thing, test the legs on top, and hips, okay? And you're asking him to go down into full plantar flexion. If there's no motion, you're palpating gastrocnemius, right? Or your soleus, the gastroc-soleus complex. You ask him to go into full plantar flexion again for a grade of 2. You check your overpressure, right? And if you get that card, you want to do the screen first. So for 2, you would do the screen first, and then again, I would ask him to go full plantar flexion. Point your foot all the way down. Is that as far as you can go? And you test again. Okay, get that full plantar flexion. Test for your passive range of motion overpressure, then test for your grade of 2. For your against gravity grades, it becomes a little bit more difficult. For your 2+, you're going on the distal aspect of the foot, midfoot again, testing overpressure. For your against gravity grades, it becomes a little bit more different. For the gastroc-soleus complex, you're going to stand up because it's such a strong muscle. So you're going to actually do, for a grade of 3, it's just going to be 1 repetition. What you want to make sure of, if you get this card on the practicum that says test plantar flexion grade of normal, right? 5 out of 5. Good, 4 out of 5. Or fair, 3 out of 5. You have to be standing. But we also want to know that they go to full range of motion. So how do you know they went to full range of motion?
You did goniometry.
You don't have to do goniometry, but what do you want to do first?
Test the other side.
No?
Come on, Ryan.
Say it again.
I don't know, stay on tippy toe without falling
I
forward.
mean, that's how they're going to get to the full range, but you don't know what their full range is unless you tested it first. So you're not going to measure it, but you want to test it. So sitting and sideline, see what their full plantar flexion is, because if he gets to here on a single leg stance and that's all he has, I might think he's weak. But if I tested his range of motion, he may only have whatever, 20 degrees of plantar flexion, okay? So screen it first, make sure they have X amount of plantar flexion. You're not measuring, you just want to know roughly how far they go, and then they're going to do single leg stance to test for that amount, okay? I think he give you support? Yeah, you can do fingertip support on the table, so why don't you face your back toward them. Yep. And you're going to ask them to do single leg heel raises. So you're going to stand on your left leg, you can put your fingertips on the table for a little support. And if he can do one full heel raise, okay, and you've screened his full range, so you know that's roughly his full range, then you know that that's a 3, right? And then you come down. To get to 3+, you're doing 2 to 3 reps, right? So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, right? To get to good, he's going to do 4 to 6 reps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? 4+ is going to be 7 to 9. You doesn't have to go through it all. And 10 is 5. 5 out of 5, okay? So that's a little bit different for MMT testing for the foot because your gastroc and soleus are so strong, just having the push into your foot full range, full force is not going to be enough, all right? So sideline for trace and gravity minimized grades for both plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Then when you have to do against gravity, they're sitting for dorsiflexion and standing for plantar flexion, okay? Every time you're going to screen active range first with overpressure, then go through your tested MMT grade that you're getting graded on, again with overpressure and the appropriate amount of resistance.
And guys, if you get plantar flexion on your test, and it says test for 4+, you are not telling your patient go up and down on your toes 7 to 9 times. Your instructions are go up on your toe as many times as you can. You are never leading a patient. So even though you know that a 3 is this, or a 3+ is this, or a 4 is this, or a 4+ is this, you are not leading that patient. You're going to tell the patient to go up on their toes as many times as they can, and the instructor will most likely say to you, okay, a grade of 4+ would be what? And you're going to say 7 to 9 repetitions. All right? Because in the real world, you're not going to know if they're a 3 or a 3+ or a 4. You know, that would be you being a technician. You're going to kind of have to get there yourself. Okay? That's key.
It kind of goes for all your grades, guys. When you're doing these, you know, here we tell you to do fingertips so that we know you're doing fingertip in the appropriate amount. But in the real world, you're just going to test their strength to full range, and you're going to determine whether or not it's minimal, moderate, or maximum, you know, compared to the other side for moderate and max. But you're not going to go through and say, I'm going to give you fingertip, and now I'm going to give you moderate, and now I'm going to give you max. You're just going to go and say you're going to push into my hand as hard as you can. You're going to meet my force. You're going to push as hard as you can, go through full range, you know. And if it's minimal, then you know it's minimal. But for here, we break it up a little bit so it makes more sense. But for that one, yeah, you don't want to just say 6 reps or something like that. You can lie on your back. So for inversion and eversion, you can slide actually so your foot's hanging off a little bit. Yeah. Perfect. There it is.
Can I go back or no? Okay.
Alright. Okay, so for inversion, eversion, when you go in gravity minimized, inversion, eversion, you're going to be supine, right? So you can be in the horizontal plane, okay? So for eversion, if you're going to be doing your gravity minimized grades, you're going to ask for eversion of the foot. So you're going to ask him to bring his foot out to the side as far as he can comfortably. If he can't move, you're going to palpate for a grade of trace at his peroneal tendons, right? You can palpate at peroneus longus, you can palpate peroneus brevis, whatever you're comfortable with, but palpate a muscle belly that's a prime mover, okay? When you're going through for your 2, you're going to ask him to go through full range, you're going to test and feel, and when you push, again, push from the midfoot, don't push and let him go into pronation. For 2+, you want to apply your resistance at 5th metatarsal there, and full range, test it. For inversion, I'll just skip to it because it's the same position. You're going to do the same exact thing. You're going to ask him to go full range of inversion. You can palpate, in this case, you can look for posterior tibial contraction in here. Your gastrocnemius is an inverter, okay? You can palpate anything that you feel contracting that's a prime mover. Full inversion, okay? Is that as far as you can go? Test and feel, again, from the midfoot like we did for range of motion. Then you can apply your 2+. Is that as far as you can go? Test and feel, okay? Your grades of 3 are going to be in different positions of side lying. So if we're going to start with eversion, you're going to lie on your right side. You can stay that way. Yeah, lie on your right facing the way. So for testing eversion, bend that bottom leg. guys see? So you can support them like this again if you're comfortable, or you can just hold. You want to make sure that the foot is at least in appropriate alignment, but preferably you want the whole patient nicely aligned, okay? You're going to ask for full eversion against gravity. You test for end feel from the midfoot. If you're applying resistance, again, you're doing it at the distal fifth metatarsal, testing end feel, okay? So 3, 3 plus, 4, 5, right? That makes sense? Mod resistance, max resistance, always test end feel. When you're doing inversion, the test leg has to be on the bottom because you want to be against gravity. So left side line. And good alignment, relax. Test legs on the bottom. Hang it off the table a little bit so you can move freely. And you give your 2 plus resistance at distal first metatarsal. Okay? And end feel. And then grades of 4 and 5, bottom max resistance. Test the other side. Okay? Does that make sense? See how it kind of becomes repetitive at this point, like going through all that. You guys understand all this already. You just have to know the positions. Some of them have a couple different, things like plantar flexions and standing. But otherwise, they start to become repetitive like this. And we'll tell you of the little specific changes. But otherwise, you know the positions are going to be against gravity for the most part, gravity minimized, and you're going to test appropriately with your hand positions, supporting well, not allowing for compensation. So for here, you're just like your range of motion. You want to make sure there's no pronation or supination of the foot. You want to make sure that they're strictly doing inversion, eversion. When you're doing dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, same thing. You don't want to let them be pronating and toeing out, everting, as they're going into dorsiflexion. And when you're doing single leg heel raises, the same thing. You want to make sure their foot is relatively straight. Don't let him do heel raises like this. Put his foot all the way turned out, because then he's compensating. You want his foot straight. You want normal alignment so that it's only occurring at the temporal joint. That make sense? Does anybody have any questions about any of those? I know we went through those kind of quick, but I think it's kind of boring for you guys to see all that moderate, maximized range of motion MMT all over again. Make sense? Okay.